Hey everybody, welcome back to Brainiac Baseball's 1984 Detroit Tigers season replay. Today we are going to take a look at the National League East and do a division preview for this channel. And if you watched last season, you know that the New York Mets not only won their division with this 90-72 record, but they went on and won the World Series, beating the Oakland Athletics. So we will take a look at that team as well as the other five teams in the division. The Montreal Expos finished second, a little bit of a surprise, going 85-77. Third place was the Philadelphia Phillies, 83-79. Just a quick note, the Phillies are the only team that changed their logo between the 83 and the 84 season. So the logo you see here, that is their new logo. Finishing fourth was the St. Louis Cardinals, just under 500 at 79-83. And last place was a tie between the Cubs and the Pirates with a 71-91 record. Over here on the right side, you'll see that the National League MVP was the Philadelphia Phillies' Len Matusik, who batted .273 with 29 home runs and 108 RBIs. Definitely a player that had a very short career in real life, and yet here he is, winning the MVP for the National League. And then the National League Cy Young went to J.R. Richard of the Astros. He went 22-6 with a 2.06 ERA and 243 strikeouts. You may remember that J.R. Richard had a stroke before the 1983 season, and he never pitched again. So here he is in, going into the 1984 season as the reigning Cy Young Award winner. And then finally, the National League Rookie of the Year went to Russ Morman of the Montreal Expos. The card here that represents him shows him as a rookie on the White Sox in real life, but in our sim, he is on the Montreal Expos. He batted .283 with 24 home runs and 108 RBI. Okay, let's go ahead and get started looking at the individual teams here. If you take a look, you'll see what they batted last season, how many home runs they hit, their total team stolen bases, and their team ERA over here, if you're curious. We're going to start with the last place Pittsburgh Pirates. This is a team that we've poached players off of almost since the beginning of the 1980 season. And it looks like they have a couple of players that are going to be rookies this year. And the way that you would know that is you'll see that we're looking at last season's numbers from 1983. And Bob Melvin and Mike Greenwell, players who have come up through their minor league system, don't have any stats for last year. So that's how you know that they're a rookie for this year. So let's go ahead and go down their lineups. Their leadoff hitter is going to be Rick Peters, former Detroit Tiger. We traded him over to Pittsburgh. I think it was in the Rick Russell deal, or maybe that was the Burt Blyleven deal. Oh, I guess we can tell by just clicking over here. Oh, it was for Jim Bibby and Omar Marino. That's how we got Jim Bibby in 1980, who did actually help us out that year a little bit. But you can see he's their everyday center fielder. And in real life, he was on the Oakland Athletics by 1984. If you're new to these season previews, we always represent the player with their most current baseball card. And so here is Rick Peters on the Oakland Athletics. A pretty damn good year last year, 35 doubles, batted .292. He never did any of that for the actual Tigers, but it's good to see him getting everyday opportunities for the Pirates. Batting second is Johnny Ray, real-life batting champ for the Pirates. He batted .338 last year. Looking at his transactions. Yes, he did win the batting title last year. So, I mean, there's two good leadoff hitters for the Pirates. He had 202 hits with 64 doubles and no home runs. That is incredible right there. So that's two good players you can count on. And then they got the Mad Dog, Bill Madlock, a great hitter in his own right. He batted .285, 29 doubles, 12 home runs, solid third baseman. Batting cleanup is going to be their 22-year-old rookie catcher. I don't know why the game always throws the rookies in at the cleanup spot, but it's Bob Melvin. He also played for the Tigers and, of course, is currently the manager of the Padres, I believe. But he was in Double-A last year, and he makes the leap to the majors, and he's got a 94 power. He had 12 home runs in Double-A last year, but this guy's got power like Mark McGwire in this sim anyway. And then another former Tiger, Jim Weaver, looks like he became a rookie last year. Hit 19 home runs for the Pirates, batting .255. Craig Kasich, player I've never heard of before we did the sim here. But he takes over the everyday first base duty for the Pirates. A little bit of power. Vance Law at shortstop. A solid everyday player represented there on his White Sox team. Mike Greenwell, here is the other rookie. He's going to bat eighth in the lineup. Play left field. A really great player in real life for Boston. Had a really long career. He's 20 years old, and the Pirates are putting him out there in left field, where he's not particularly highly rated, but he's got some growing to do, and I guess he'll work out those growing pains in the major leagues. Then we take a look at their bench here. They have Marvell Wynn, also a rookie, played in real life in '84 for the Pirates. We have Steve Nicosia as the backup catcher. Did actually in '82 get a chance to play every day. Now he's a backup to Bob Melvin. Tim Foley still hanging around in the majors. On the Yankees in real life, he's the backup utility guy, I guess he would be here. Doe Boyland put up a couple good years in a row there for the Pirates. Looks like he's a backup, or maybe a lefty-righty matchup with playing first base there. And Rich Renteria, another rookie, who's on the bench to play second base. And he can play other positions, but not very well. And finally, Dale Berra, still holding on, another shortstop and another utility player. So that's kind of odd. They have so many utility bats. Okay, and then we'll just take a look here quickly at their minor league system. See who they have coming up through the farm system. Anyone of note. They do have Mike Laga, an 83 rating. He can play first base. Doesn't quite have the power. Well, he had 22 home runs last year in Double-A. You see him there in a Tiger uniform. That was 84 was his rookie year in real life. In Double-A, they have an infielder named Ron Wattis, who has a pretty good rating. Mike Devereaux, play all three outfield positions, rated an 87. Gene Larkin, down in Single-A, he got some PT last year, batted .298. Scrolling down through the rest of Single-A, Pat Borders at catcher, rated an 80. Joe Girardi, rated an 85. Bill Bean, not Billy Bean, but Bill Bean. Greg Vaughn, a lot of power there. So they have a couple good players coming through the system that they can look forward to. And really their lineup, other than a couple of no-names in there, Weaver and Kasich, who's already proven to put up some decent numbers, this is a really solid team. I can't imagine they would finish in last place, but anything's possible. New York and Philadelphia, St. Louis, they really do kind of rule this division. It is going to be tough for them to break through to the top half of the National League East. Let's take a look at their pitching staff here. And they're bringing back four of their starters. Jose De Leon is going to be their ace this year. He made 24 starts, went 9-6 with a 3.10 ERA. But he's got a 90 overall rating and a solid fastball. Pitched pretty damn well last year. And he is now going to be the ace of the staff. Pitcher number 2 is Dan Warthen. A pitcher that wasn't even in baseball, but for some reason, he's still doing well. We almost traded for him last year. He's went 13-12 with a 4.24 ERA. Look at the walks and the strikeouts. It definitely seems like the more he pitches, another season into his real life retirement, the numbers that are the ones you don't like seem to go up. He's given up a lot of runs, gave up a lot of walks, gave up the most home runs he's ever given up, tied for the most wild pitches. So that's a guy that probably is on his last leg, and yet he just signed an extension for $1.5 million through 1988. Youch! Oh man, that's going to handicap the Pirates. Then the third pitcher is Pascual Perez. At this point, he was on the Braves in real life. 8-16. He got caught up in all that cocaine mess that the Pirates had in the 80s, and they ended up getting rid of him. And I think he also had we covered him before. I think he also had an alcohol abuse issue. Not much of a strikeout pitcher. He went 8-16 after going 10-20. I guess that's an improvement in the loss column anyway. Pitcher number 4 in the lineup is Rick Rhoden, an old veteran, reliable, an innings eater, plenty of strikeouts, solid guy with a 435,000 he's making for this season until he goes to free agency. So he's affordable in his age 30 year. And their number 5 starter is Alfonso Pulido, who started 18 games and pitched really well. Wow. A 2.85 ERA. Not much of a strikeout guy, a 2-pitch pitcher, but he held batters in check all season. Let's look at the bullpen. Scott Medvin is their closer. He had 18 saves last year, and he came up to the majors in our first sim year as an 18-year-old, and it's kind of every other year is good, He did have 18 saves and 4 blueys, so pretty solid. They do have Joe Sambito if they need him. They signed him as a free agent from Houston. He had 9 saves. He's a left-handed reliever, so maybe not the kind of pitcher you want closing, but Houston made good use of him. He has 88 career saves as he enters his age 31 year. The rest of the bullpen continues with Joe Beckwith, who we traded for from the Dodgers, and it looks like he's getting another opportunity finally with the Pirates. Bob Long. I need to look for another card for him. Bob Long, not a great reliever in 1983. Ray Krawczyk. He's coming up as a rookie, even though he pitched in single A last year, but he's got an 84 overall rating. So he's a good long reliever with his endurance at 41. And Dorn Taylor, who got into 8 games last year with an 0.71 ERA. So they have some pretty decent options in the bullpen. This team could be, if the pitchers continue to be innings eaters and the bullpen does their gerbs, then this team could be much improved with that offense. Let's take a look and see who they have in the minor leagues. Holy cow. Look at this. They got Mike Bilecki. This guy's got an 85 rating, and he is ready to go to the majors. He could be the number 3 starter right now. He's got an 85 rating with a max of 92. Steve Farr could be a decent reliever, rated a 79. Looking in Double-A, they have Lee Tunnell, rated a 86. Somebody named Jeff Zasky. Look at all these people in the 80s here. People you don't even recognize. Cecilio Guante is rated a 79. And looking in single-A ball, Brian Hickerson, Rick Reed, Scott Kamenecki. I don't know why Scott Kamenecki doesn't ever do particularly well in this game. Gil Heredia, future Oakland Athletic pitcher that I saw pitch a lot in that 2001 season. Steve Reed, Jose Cano. Just a bunch of schlubs, but, with great ratings. And so, the Pirates, I guess with their futility, have drafted well, and looks like they have a good future ahead of them, depending if they start trading off some of their players if they get out of the gate poorly. We're going to move on to the other team that tied for last place. That is the Chicago Cubs. And the Cubs, it looks like they have one player in the lineup that is a rookie. We'll take a look at that here. Their leadoff hitter is Glenn Gulliver. And this guy was a Detroit Tiger. We traded him to the Cubbies pretty early on, and all he's done is got better every season as their leadoff hitter. Doesn't really steal much, but he's got a 273 batting average and plays a good third base. His eye is 99. Look at this. He had 111 walks in 82 and 91 walks in 83. That's why he's their leadoff hitter, is he gets on base. His career on base percentage for a guy you never heard of is .379. That's impressive. Okay, batting second in the lineup is Scotty Fletcher. In real life, he was on the White Sox, but he is in his 5th season as a Chicago Cub. He really was a Chicago Cub in real life, of course. And he had 47 doubles last year, batted .301. So that's a couple of decent players to start off with. And then Cal Daniels, he's got 529 at bats before he turned age 20. He is a 20-year-old, and he is a .304 hitter with 16 home runs playing left field. So he's a contributor. Jim Beswick, this guy got injured last year. He came out of the gates hot. At one point, he was leading the American League in home runs. And then when he got healthy, the Cubs didn't call him back up. He just stayed in the minor leagues. So I don't know what happened there exactly, but maybe there wasn't a spot for him with his 77 rating. But he batted .280, and he had an .862 OPS. So as a cleanup hitter, that's not bad numbers. Here's Billy Hatcher, and as I mentioned, he will be a rookie. Great defender, play anywhere in the outfield, and he shared time between Double-A and Single-A last year. Well, in Single-A, he figured it out. He batted .300, and they're going to stick him out in center field. So we yet to be seen whether he can help them out or not. And then Darrell Porter is their catcher, as you can see on the Cardinals in real life in 1984. And a really reliable player in our sim, although his numbers have declined. He is still putting up decent numbers, a .357 on base percentage. I mean, the Cubs look good right now. Pat Tabler is their first baseman, 26-year-old, batted .280 in what I'm assuming was a platoon duty at first base, as you can see on the Indians in real life. And their number 8 hitter is going to be Steve Macko, who, of course, passed away. I believe he had leukemia and couldn't continue his baseball career because he died. And that happened in 1980, right after this 81 season, I guess, actually. So he never played again after that. But in this game, he lives on, and he still is contributing. So that's what I love about this game. He was on the Cubs. He got traded to Houston, and now he's back on the Cubs. Pretty nifty. Let's take a look at their bench. Okay, they have an interesting bench here. They have Fritzy Connolly, who looks like he's a pinch hitter and a backup third baseman. Sam Horn, who is probably just going to be a pinch hitter, 20-year-old with a ton of power. For the Red Sox in real life, he was like a big prospect who just did not come through. It's always interesting to see how those players do in our sim. And as a primary position of a DH, I don't think he's going to get a lot of action in the National League. Then they have Dan Roan, who at one time was a starter at second base for the Cubs. And now he is on the bench. Tim Blackwell is their backup catcher. Great mustache. I mean, you could hang a jacket on that mustache. He is 31 years old. My goodness. He doesn't look 31. And it looks like he's got a Giants jersey, but like a Pittsburgh hat on. I don't know what team he was on in real life. I guess it was the Giants probably. Nonetheless, Tim Blackwell is their backup. And Henry Cotto Coming up from the minors, he will be a rookie, playing anywhere in the outfield, great speed in real life, and for some reason, he's got a lot of power. This guy will be in the lineup before too long. And Jesus Alfaro, a backup utility infielder who got 153 at-bats last year, batted .248. A couple dongs. All right, let's take a look at their their minor league system here. In AAA, there's some names there, but nothing that gets you excited. Looks like Ken Phelps' career is finally over. This guy, you may remember, I think it was in the 1981 season, had 2 grand slams in an inning versus my Detroit Tigers for these Kansas City Royals. It was one of those career games. In AA, who do they have? Nobody. Wow, they really have nobody. I mean, again, Bill Buckner, Andre Thornton, but these are players on the way down. And let's take a look at Single A. And they have Gary Varsho, whose son is in the majors for the Cubs now. I think he was on my Diamondbacks here. Terry Steinbach, pretty solid catcher. Carmelo Martinez, Glenn Davis, in real life had a lot of power. For some reason, in our sim, he just never is good. See Joe Carter with a 75? I mean, these are big names that will never make it to the majors. Jay Buhner, there we go, 91 rating. Tom Prince at catcher. Keith Lockhart. Some of these players who were borderline real major leaguers are going to blow right past Glenn Davis and Joe Carter and go right to the majors. Quinn Mack, Jim Vatcher, Paul Ferries, Doug DeCenzo. These are all great ratings in Single A. So, I mean, they have nothing in AAA or AA. In fact, you could say they really don't have much on their bench either. But their batting lineup is solid. They very well could be the last place team. Let's take a look at their pitching staff. That'll determine more. Oh, that's right. They have Roger Clemens. I forgot about that. Okay, let's take a look at their 5-man rotation. Steve Engel is going to be their ace as of now, anyway. He went 19-12 last year with a 3.70 ERA, 8 complete games, 5 shutouts, that overall 94 rating. His fastball is 96 miles an hour, and it's rated a 97. He's kind of a one-pitch pitcher. His changeup's below league average, but you can't argue with the results. He went 19-12. And then their number 2 pitcher for now is Roger Clemens, who I believe his actual rookie year in real life was 1984, right? So he's already got 85 starts under his belt for the lowly Cubs, and he goes to arbitration at the end of the year. So a pitcher like this, who's only rated an 83, see, that's what happened. He got drafted onto this terrible team who probably didn't spend any money on their development. It's one of the things under budget over here. And because of that, he has not developed properly. If you moved him to another team, like the Yankees or Boston or the Mets or the Dodgers, like these numbers you would think would go up. But he might not get there in this sim. He went 6-17 after a 9-11 season. He's only 21 years old. And he did get injured last year. Health is a 67, which is horrible. So this is a pitcher who's going to get injured every year. Truly not representative of Roger Clemens' actual career, but maybe he'll get on some roids, get the cream in the clear, and that'll get that health up. The third pitcher is Mike Flanagan. He came over from the Orioles a couple of seasons ago, mid-season. He went 11-17 with a 4.84 ERA. I wonder if these terrible pitching numbers had anything to do with me manipulating the park effects. I have yet to do that for this sim, so it's the last thing that I do every year. And I wonder what the park effects were for the Cubs from 83. I don't. Whenever you advance to another year, it resets it to whatever it should be for 1984, and then I do my own little calculations. So maybe that's part of it, why they struggled so much. Mike Krukow is the number 4 starter. Very reliable starter. 32 starts last year, 13-16, a 5 ERA. Yeah, it had to be that. He gave up 28 home runs. It must have been playing as a well, it's a batter's park in real life. We all know that, especially when the wind is blowing out at Wrigley. So I think I must have maybe cranked the numbers up to 11, and maybe that hurt them a little bit. And Steve Luber is the number 5 starter on this team, and he only made 8 starts for them last year. He was out of baseball in real life, of course, but he's had a long career so far and has helped them out a little bit. He made 34 starts. He made all of his starts in 82. And I don't know. With a 76 rating, he might not be long for the rotation. Okay, let's take a look at their bullpen. This is where things are good. They've got 3 closers on this team, starting with the Hall of Famer, Lee Smith. He is their closer. In his first year, full year of closing, he had 26 saves, 6 blueys. As you can see him represented there in the 84 Topps card. So he is their closer on this team. Can't go wrong with him. And Bill Caudell is their setup man. He was a closer in real life for the A's and bounced around a little bit, but he's spent his whole career on the Cubby. He's going to free agency at the end of this year, unless they sign him. And he's a solid setup guy. 2.04 ERA. A career 3.17 ERA. Then their next pitcher is Bill Johnson, 23-year-old right-hander. He has not pitched in the majors since he was 20 in 1981, so he's probably getting called back up. And then Guillermo Hernandez, of course, he was on the Tigers in real life in 1984. Not in this sim. He's not that great. This sim does not recognize his MVP season. He was the MVP and the Cy Young of 1984 for the American League. And our team would not have been the same without him in real life. He's putting up solid numbers. A 2.21 ERA. And he only walked 8, but he's not the closer for them. And of course, would I love to have him on our team? Of course. Yeah, I mean, no doubt about it, but I'm not trading for him. I don't think with his rating it would help us. It just doesn't feel right to not have him, but this sim is so far gone from the real Tigers. All right, then they have Mike Capel as a reliever on this team. He'll get his first chance out of spring training. And Mark Brown pitched a year for the Orioles in our sim. Finds himself over here on the Cubbies. Eventually, in real life, he was on the Twinkies. And then we'll take a look at their minor league pitchers here. You just saw Mark Lemongello. He made a bunch of starts for them, but not very well. He went 3-12, and he's in AAA, probably where he deserves to be. Don Henkel with an 84 rating. I mean, this guy could be on the team. I mean, if you look at their ratings for their bullpen, they're great, with the exception of Guillermo. And, I mean, he's still pretty damn solid. Okay. Yeah, they have otherwise a bunch of quadruple A pitchers in AAA. They don't have a lot to offer in Double A, but they do have Storm Davis. Get that guy to the majors soon. Mike Schoolard was a closer for the Mariners briefly. Julio Solano has a good rating as well. Oh, wow. Look at this, guys. In Single A, who do they have? They have Doc Gooden, who did pitch in the majors. He went 0-3, so he was not ready for prime time as an 18-year-old. He was in the majors in real life, of course, in 1984, as that is his rookie baseball card. His numbers don't really show what he could possibly do, but who knows? He might fight his way to the majors this year, and that would be cool. If you were, that would be great. Dennis Springer, knuckleballer, One of those weird knuckleballers from this era. Does he have the knuckleball in this game? He does have the knuckleball. Okay. So I don't have to add his like I have to add Candiotti's. And Tim Drummond. I mean, there's nobody else here to get excited about. But they do have Doc. They have Storm Davis. So they have a couple starters that I think would suit them better than Luby Luber in the number 5 spot. I don't know what to make of this team. I guess it's going to depend upon what Wrigley Field plays like in 84. And we will find that out shortly. Otherwise, I mean, the bullpen's great, and they got some names if the ratings don't even represent them properly. That's going to do it for the Cubbies. We're going to move on to the St. Louis Cardinals. Let's take a look at the Cardinals. This team lost a lot of players to free agency, and so this is going to look like a really odd team. Let's go ahead and take a look here at the roster. Leading off and playing second base as of now is Bill Lyons. Been with the Cardinals a couple of seasons already. Looks like he's going to get his chance to play second base. Then we have Derek Bryant, a player who I remember very well from that Oakland team in 1980 playing against our Tigers. And it looks like he's earned his way back to the majors as a 32-year-old. Had 28 doubles last year, batted .252, and they got to stick him out in left field. Willie McGee, great center fielder, won the batting title, and he batted .332 last year, so he just fell short to Johnny Ray, who won for Pittsburgh. That's a good race. Then we have Kurt Ford as a rookie. Is he their cleanup hitter? Yeah, they always put the cleanup hitter, the rookie in the cleanup hitter's role. He's coming up from Double-A. He's got some power. Could play okay defense. Wow, he can play first and second also? That's weird. So we'll see how he does in the majors. Then we have Keith Hernandez. Now, in this game, he is yet to be traded to the Mets. He may never be traded. He's not a free agent until 1985. But he's still playing good baseball at age 30. For the Cardinals, he'll be the first baseman. It had 805 OPS. That's pretty damn good. Doesn't strike out. He walks. Dated Julia Louis-Dreyfus in Seinfeld there. Okay, so we have Butch Weiniger. This is a well-traveled catcher in our sim. He's on his he's on his 4th team since we started this sim. And maybe we'll finally have an everyday catching spot. I mean, he's only 27 years old. And by now, in real life, it just felt like he was done. I do remember when they brought him up from Minnesota. He was so young. And I know he finished in the top 2 or 3 that year for Rookie of the Year in 76. I could remember his top card with the little rookie gold cup on it. Jim Gantner. He came over in a trade from Milwaukee, and he is their everyday third baseman. Of course, in real life, he was still on the Brew Crew. Jose Uribe will be their shortstop, and he had a cup of coffee last year, got 131 at-bats. And is he their number 8 hitter? Yes, he is. So, I mean, if you look at these ratings, these are not great. Busch Stadium also didn't give up a lot of home runs, but they don't have their stolen base guys like they had in real life. I don't know. What does Bill Lyons have for speed? 88. So maybe Bill Lyons steals 50 bases for them this year. I don't know. We'll take a look here at their bench. Oh, my God. They have Dave Winfield on the bench. That is so stupid. We have David Green here, who is a rookie, and I believe he was a rookie also. No, he was a rookie in 82. So, anyway, he gets his first chance to play in the majors as a right fielder. Ted Simmons at the end of his career, at least the game thinks so. He's only 34. He played till he was 40, for crying out loud. And he's in the Hall of Fame. but he's not putting up any numbers now. He's a back. Well, he batted .326 last year. Remember in '81, he was an all-star in our sim, and he had the one home run, and it was like, where did his power go? From 15 to 1 back to 10, and then 1 in backup duty. Ray Quinones is backup infielder. Can't play anywhere because he sucks. That's too bad. Jim Lentine, former Detroit Tiger. This guy's just a pinch hitter, isn't he? It doesn't have a lot to look at. And Kelly Paris, I always hated this baseball card as a kid. I'm like, what a weirdo. I do hate this baseball card. I remember this card really well. Maybe it was like one of those things where whenever I'd open up a rack pack of 84 tops, he'd be in it. I had like 15 Kelly Parises. Anyway, he didn't play at all in '83 in the majors. Oh, his numbers are terrible. He's a 69 rated third baseman. And he's going to get another shot anyway. And then Dave Winfield, what the hell? The guy batted .273 playing every day in 1983. And now they can't find a spot for him out in right field. Maybe they'll trade him. He's making $1 million, and they're putting him on the bench, and it's Dave Winfield. He has 1,500 career hits. That's the thing that, we talk about this all the time, but that's one of the things about this game that annoys me is that the Hall of Famers just don't have a Hall of Fame career arc, and yet, here's Derek Bryant playing every day now for the Cardinals, and that is kind of something that I like, So it's a little bit of give and take. But Kurt Ford, I should say, taking over for Dave Winfield in right field, it just doesn't make any sense. It would never happen. As far as the minor leagues go, they don't have anybody in AAA. They don't have anybody in AA at all. They got Dusty they have names. They have Dusty Baker, George Hendrick. Nobody until you get to single A. And they have Shane Mack, a very good player. Mariano Duncan, another very good player. Gerald Young. They have Will the Thrill Clark. That's cool. That's pretty cool. So hopefully he will make it to the majors. Chris Cron, the father of C.J. Cron, and who's the other brother? I can't think of his name, but they're playing in the majors right now. Scott Leas, a couple other players with, rating above 80. I think, Pittsburgh is definitely going to jump over Chicago, and I can't see how they're going to be lower than St. Louis. They just do not have much of an offense at all. And playing in that park without speedsters, I don't know. Dave Winfield should be in that lineup. Okay, let's take a look at their pitching staff. Oh, wow, they've got a couple. They got some schlubs. All right, we talked about Hector Eduardo as he was a rookie in 1980 in our sim. He is a career Mexican League and minor league player, but for some reason, his numbers are great here. That's kind of what I like about this game. He's 16-13 last year as their staff ace, 3.10 ERA while he walked. He has career where his walks are higher than his strikeout total. That makes it hard to win, but he's getting it done. And he's got a 98 rated changeup. That's just wacky. But I have no problem with it. That's fine. Then we have Danny Cox, who was a rookie in '84 in real life. You'll see here he's got 26 starts last year, 10-7. Not a great ERA. Not a strikeout pitcher. 74 Ks in 173 and 2/3 innings pitched. Al Olmstead made a career-high 35 starts and a career-high wins. 11-15, 442. He's an innings eater. And again, doesn't strike out anybody. More walks than strikeouts. This team is in trouble. Mike Lacoste, how did he get here? Signed as a free agent, a 3-year deal for a pitcher that had made one start in 83, 1 in 82, none in 81, and 3 in 1980 in our sim. So that's something to watch. I wonder how he will perform. He's only 27 years old, signed a 3-year deal, and he's going to be the number 4 starter. Wow, he was 18 starts in AAA with a 2.43 ERA, so maybe he's got something left in the tank. And the number 5 starter is Greg Matthews, who's only 21 years old. He's been making starts in the majors since he was 17 years old. Come on, this ball game, man. And I don't know what to expect from him. So that's a rotation. That is not hopeful, folks. Let's take a look at their bullpen. Their closer is Gibson Alba. There he is. 22 saves, 2 Blueies. That's pretty good. 2.16 ERA. I don't know who he is, but he got the job done with an 85 rating. Setup man is George Frazier. Here in the Yankees uniform, but in this sim, he's pitched for nobody else but the Cardinals, and he was excellent as well. 7 saves mixed in. Jeff Lottie. He is another setup man, not so good. John Littlefield, 30-year-old reliever. He is out of baseball, I guess, by 1984, but still pitching here. Pat Perry, he is a long reliever for them. Got into 4 games, did not do well. And Ralph Citarella, who got into a couple games at the end of the season. So this team lost a lot of pitchers, a lot of batters too, I guess, to free agency. Who do they have available here? They have John Stupert, pretty good ratings. He could be the number 5 starter before too long. Todd Worrell, that's your closer of the future. He should be up there right now. Ricky Horton, Todd Burns. Those guys are in Double-A. In Single-A, they have Jimmy Jones and Chris Bosio, Jose Rijo. There you go. Those are some big names. Rob Dibble. They got Dibs. And I guess that's pretty much it. Ravelo Manzanillo has an 82 rating. So they do have a couple people that might help them out who are in Single-A. And Todd Worrell and John Stupert could easily be in that lineup right now in the rotation and the bullpen. It's only a matter of time. Somebody gets injured. Oh, yeah, this team is bad. Like, this team could be the last place team dueling it out with Chicago. We're going to move on to the Philadelphia Phillies. And as I mentioned, there is their new logo. Remember they had the logo with, I don't know if it Ben Franklin and John Adams shaking hands or some crap. I don't know what it was. Oh, my gosh. Holy cow. Look at this lineup. Look who they have leading off. Wow. Barry freaking Bonds as a 19-year-old. Holy cow. How did they got him in the draft? Yeah, he was the first overall pick for them in the 1982 draft, as you can see. He's a 1-1. And he only had 1 home run in the minors. Oh, come on. His power is 59? I think that the creator of this game is punishing the players who were popped for the roids, right? I mean, it's got to be what this is all about. He still carries the 98 rating for the eye. He's going to walk a ton. I can't wait to see what happens. I mean, maybe that power will develop. He is only 19 years old, but it's still frustrating. I don't know. That annoys me a little bit. But I'm curious. I want to know what's going to happen. So Barry Bonds is the Phillies' leadoff hitter. Batting second is their catcher, Mike LaValliere. Longtime Philly in this game anyway. And a reliable catcher. Julio Franco played baseball forever. Finally had a season where he got to play every day. He's a shortstop, but not very well rated. Of course, he played a lot as a DH in the American League. Steve Stanisic, third baseman for the team. We've got Len Matusik. There it is. There is your National League MVP, putting up MVP-like numbers, I suppose. 833 OPS. I don't know. That's weird. There had to be somebody better than that, but I suppose not. Did he lead the National League in home runs? He won a Gold Glove at first base, and he was the home run leader. He was an all-star, tied for the lead in home runs in the National League. He signed a one-year extension for $500,000. He won the MVP and the Gold Glove. Okay, come on. This guy should have held out for a little bit more money. That's kind of amazing. That's like the Triple Crown right there, in a sense. Then Kirby Puckett is their center fielder. Finally just starting to develop in the game. He's only 23. He had 21 home runs last year, 91 RBI, batted .303. I remember when he was traded from Minnesota to Philadelphia in this game. Yeah, and they got nothing in return. Randy Lurch, Mike Anderson, Keith Moreland. That was a bad trade for the Twins. Tom Barrett, second baseman, like his brother. Marty looks like he's going to be the everyday second baseman for the Phils. He had a good year last year. Batted .293. Gary Ward, not a great rating, but he's still holding on. Had 17 home runs, a career high, actually. And plays good outfield. He's got a good arm. That's nice. And Lonnie Smith. I mean, Lonnie Smith is awesome. In this game, not so much, I suppose, but I would take him. So can't complain about that. And Ozzie Virgil. Are we on the bench here? Oh, yes, we are on the bench. So Lonnie Smith, Ozzie Virgil, backup catcher. Terrible rating. We have, oh, God. Here's Ryan Sandberg. Now, this is his rookie year in real life. Coming off his rookie year in real life, I guess. And he barely played last year. He's being usurped by Tom Barrett. Great defender, can play anywhere, but his ratings just don't represent his real-life career. So I don't know what's happening here. But that's kind of redonkulous. Here's Bob Denier, speedster. Had a great year with 84 stolen bases. Went to 36 in a backup role, but his batting average went up to .306. We also have Steve Jeltz, shortstop, utility guy, really, and John Puff as a backup first baseman. And then we take a look at their minor leaguers. They have Gary Maddox, Larry Boa. All these guys got a cup of coffee last year. And Double-A, Ray Palacios and Daryl Boston. Good, solid rated players. Greg Jelks. Let's scroll on down to Single-A. Angel Salazar, what? Rated a 91. Lance Blankenship, Warren Newsom, Mark McLemore, Gary Thurman, Ron Gant. There we go. That's a good ball player. Chris Jones. All these players pretty high. But these are not marquee names. Maybe they find a position later on. But they've got some players on the bench here that are just frustrating. And then Barry Bonds with no power. We'll keep a close eye on him during this season and see what he does in the majors. Does he hit 40 home runs despite having a 59 power? I already proclaimed that the ratings have nothing to do with anything. But I guess we'll see. Let's take a look at the pitching staff for the Phils. It's hard to determine whether this is a good offense or not. I like the names. Bonds, Franco. They have the MVP. They got Kirby Puckett, Lonnie Smith, Ryan Sandberg. Come on. All right. Oh, yeah. I remember this pitching staff. This is not a good staff. They have a guy named Scott Munninghoff as their ace. He's got the ratings to make him an ace. He went 15-8, had a good season going into his 25th year, but he walks more than he strikes out. I mean, this is just ridiculous. The number 2 starter is somebody named Tony Gelfi. Made 17 starts and jumped up to the number 2 spot, rated a 92. Pretty solid. Larry Christensen, still hanging on. He won 20 games in our 1980 sim, and he won 17 last year. So I guess this is a guy that's dependable, and he's a fan favorite. That's what the thumbs up means here. Whenever you see that, that means he's played enough in the majors for his original team that he's become a fan favorite in the game. So that's cool. Now here's a free agent, Bill Paschal. We remember this guy pitching last year for the Royals, and he was horrible. He gives up a ton of home runs. He gave up 49 home runs in 82, and with the same amount of innings pitched, he only gave up 38 last year. So this is not a pitcher you want to sign to a long-term deal, and yet they did until 1987. So he's not going to be good. Dick Ruthven, hanging in there at age 32, went 10-14. He is their number 5 starter and an innings eater. Everybody's got to have one of those. Let's take a look at their bullpen. This is a team that looks like they shared closing duties. Dave Shipinoff, showing him batting. I always hate it when minor leaguers have cards where they're batting when they're clearly a pitcher. He had 27 saves in 82 and then 11 last year. So it looks like he lost his job at some point to none other than Tom Niedenfuer, who I do believe should be their closer. But, look at the walk to strikeout ratio is great. 18 saves. He had 5 blueies, so he wasn't really competent either. And then we have John Verhoeven, who's hanging on to his dear life for a job, 5.68 ERA. And 30 walks, 30 strikeouts. Not great. Warren Brewstar, who had a really interesting career in life. 3.07 ERA. He's solid. He's represented here on the Cubbies in 1984. Jerry Reed, solid reliever, putting up okay numbers. Keeping the walk totals down. That's always good. And Danny Clay, as a rookie, will make the team out of spring training, it appears, unless there's some free agent signings. And, how can he not? Oh, he's a long reliever. He's got an endurance of 61. And his highest ERA in the minors has been 2.94. So he deserves a chance. Okay, let's take a look at their AAA team here. Roger Erickson made a bunch of starts for them, went 7-13. He's in AAA. They got Bob Walk. That's not good. Charles Hudson, rated 84. He could be on the team right now. Doyle Alexander, whose career is done in this game. He did get a few starts, but had 84 innings pitched. Hot Sauce, Kevin Soche in AAA. These are not people that are good. Only Charles Hudson and Bob Walk probably get to play on this team. Maybe if there's some injuries, maybe Roger Erickson will get a shot. Look at this, Steve Carlton hanging on with a 58. When's his contract up? It's up in 1984. So, he's got one more year of them paying him. Mike Maddox, Greg Maddox's brother, rated an 89. That guy should be in the majors. Jay Baller, that's a great. Mark Davis, is this the Mark Davis that won the Cy Young? It is the Mark Davis that won the Cy Young. And he was in the majors in real life. Okay, Sid the Kid Fernandez. So there's a good starter for the future in Double-A. Let's take a look at Single-A. They have Mike Fetters, the Bulldog. That guy is hilarious on the mound. Jack Armstrong, highly rated. Greg Swindell, kind of a bust in real life, but he had a good long career. Somebody named John Barfield, Randy Veras. So there are some names in the minors here. As far as their pitching staff goes, I think give them a little bit of hope. And they do have a little bit of depth with Bob Walk and Charles Hudson. I guess even Roger Erickson can come in and make some starts. But this pitching staff with the low strikeout totals and the high walk totals, that's a recipe for disaster. I mean, could the Phillies fall? I mean, I'm thinking like Pittsburgh can make a huge leap this year. We just have to keep an eye on Barry Bonds. I want to know what he does. Okay, we're moving on. We've got 2 teams to go. Thanks for hanging in there. Let's take a look here at the Montreal Expos, who finished in second place with an 85-77 record. How did they do it? I don't know. They have a rookie playing center field for them this year. It's Brady Anderson, 20-year-old left-handed bat, coming right up from single A, and he's got no power. Of course, he had 50 home runs for the Orioles, batting leadoff that year, and they've given him no power. And I think that's got to be the thing, right? I mean, we're putting it all together as we're looking at this, that all the players who did PEDs are all reverse rated because of it. Rick Sweet is their catcher, coming over from Houston, had a good year for them. He is now their new catcher. Was that a free agent signing? It was a free agent signing for 2 years. All right. Then we have Greg Gross, a career pinch hitter, who is their left fielder. Again, these are all players who have no power at all. There's Russ Mormon. He is the rookie of the year we just saw. So those are some great numbers. Playing first base, not well defensively, and he struck out a ton for this sim anyway. But they do have the rookie of the year batting cleanup, so that makes sense. Steve Ontiveros, the batter, not the pitcher. He is their third baseman. He was out of baseball by 1980 in real life, and he's still putzing along here. Has shown some power. Wow, look at that. He's rated 99 at first. That's got to be a glitch. And Dwight Evans, wow, I remember when he was traded over. He was the first player that we created a baseball card for. Jeremy DeYoung created baseball cards for our sim. And I remember the Dwight Evans card that he created was really sharp looking. He had a great year, and then Montreal just zapped him of all of his baseball prowess. He did bat .262 last year in really his first full year in a couple of seasons. Rated a 79. He's on the way out, which is too bad because who doesn't love Dewey? Brian Little will become their everyday second baseman. And Mike Gates, he's an all-star shortstop for them. Again, no power whatsoever. He was an all-star in '82. They gave him a 2-year extension. Is he the last hitter? Yeah. So he's their number 8 hitter. That is a team that is rough. I mean, they have nobody. I'm curious to see what Brady Anderson does, I guess, much like Barry Bonds. Now, who do they have here on their bench? Oh, this is a laugh. So they have John Fischel, who is a rookie on the bench. Good ratings. Left fielder, not good defensively. And then look at this. LaRue Washington, an everyday second baseman for them, and he's not even going to be on the... I bet at 302, he's not even going to be in the lineup. He had 103 runs scored, 174 hits. This is UL Washington's brother, and he was an all-star in 1983. Won his arbitration, and they put him on the bench. Gary Carter, another player in this sim, a Hall of Famer who doesn't get everyday at bats, and he puts up okay numbers other than that .215 batting average, I guess, but I don't know why they don't. He doesn't do better. Pat Rooney, he's a rookie coming up to play right field. Oh gosh, his numbers are terrible. This team sucks. And Brian Doyle, The guy almost won a batting title in 1980 in our sim. He just fell short of having the right amount of plate appearances. He batted .334 and traded from the Yankees to Montreal, and he's a pinch hitter. Wallace Johnson, another career pinch hitter, second baseman. Man, they have no power on this team. Let's take a look at their minor leaguers. Well, they got Rock Raines, another Hall of Famer whose numbers, his ratings don't show his ability. He only had 6 stolen bases, batted .323, and they're giving the job to Greg Gross. And Tim Raines' rating is better, so I don't know. That doesn't make sense. Dave Valley, solid catcher in AAA, so they have a couple names there. In AA, they got nothing. They got a guy with a 59 rating. What about single A? Nothing. They put no money into development. Tom Lampkin, Jeff Hamilton, Manny Lee, Jerome Walton, that's a good player, Carlos Martinez. So there's some names here. Well, there's some ratings here that are attached to names that could be good, but I mean, this team sucks. Man, Tim Wallach can't get a job. Larry Parrish can't get a job. It's a real bummer to see that happen. This team's going to be bad, and there's no way they're going to win 85 games again. Could Pittsburgh be the number 2 team in the division? The Mets are going to win this division in a cakewalk. Wait till you see what they did. Let's take a look at their pitching staff for the Expos here. Now, this is not too shabby. They did lose Steve Rogers to free agency. He signed with the Yankees, you may remember from the American League East preview that we did. You can find that in the playlist on the Brainiac Baseball Card Breaks homepage. Bill Gullickson, he's 13-10 last year, 2.99 ERA. There you go. That's a guy you can depend on there. Only 25 years old and a solid pitcher. Pitcher number 2, another youngster, 27 years old, Charlie Lay, 13-18. His ERA jumped up and almost as many walks as strikeouts. That sucks. David Palmer, he's 26 years old, 10-12. Another pitcher threw 100 walks. Their 4th pitcher is Mike Moore. This guy's 24 years old, really had his first shot last year with 21 starts. His health is not good, so he does get injured a lot. Doesn't walk much. Okay, strikeout to any pitch rating. He could be their number 2 starter based on stats anyway. And their number 5 starter is Hal Dews. Here's a guy that's just hanging around. I don't know how he's still pitching, but he is. He made 3 starts with 1 and 2 with a 4.98 ERA. And he did pitch in the NLCS in 1980 when Montreal won that division. He pitched a shutout. That's why he's still getting starting opportunities, because he's a fan favorite, I guess. Let's take a look at their bullpen. Okay, Bob James is their closer. That makes sense. He was a closer in real life. 14 saves, 5 blueies. Wow, 171 opponents batting average. Yeah, that guy's good. Who else do they have here? Tom Gorman, represented there on the Mets, but a good setup guy. And the Quiz, Dan Quisenberry. Was he signed to a free agent job? Signed as a free agent for 3 years. And he's on the block. They're going to trade him right out of the gate. So he spent the last 3 years, 2.5 years on Baltimore. Not a closer in this game because he doesn't really throw hard. But, that's a name. Then they have Dave Campbell. Not that Dave Campbell, but the other Dave Campbell. And he went 11-1 in relief. Was he an all-star? Nope, but he gets injured a lot too. All right, and then we have Tim Burke. There's your closer of the future. Tim Burke was a solid pitcher, but he's only rated an 80. Man, that sucks. And Joe Hesketh, he's probably your long reliever. Got into 13 games last year, and he did not give up a run in 15 2/3 innings and only 4 hits. Oh, my gosh. That's amazing. Is there something wrong with his ratings? I mean, who knows? I don't know. It's tough to say. Let's take a look at the minor league system. For the Expos, they have Rick Engel. He's well rated. Bob Stanley, we traded over there. Matt Young, I mean, these are people who could play. Andy Raplogle, remember when in 1981 we tried to make him our closer in this sim because he was striking out everybody? That was a huge mistake. I've done some dumb things. Okay, let's look at Double A. Yeah, they got Tim Barrett and Jeff Parrott. Mickey Weston. Greg Cadaret, not rated well. They have Roberto Hernandez. There's your closer of the future. Bob Kipper. A.J. Sager. These are not great. Steve Wilson. So there's a few names there. I mean, they don't have the rotation. Losing Steve Rogers is definitely a big loss for them. If your number 5 starter is Hal Dews, I don't know how they're gonna. I mean, maybe Matt Young could be better, but this is not a team that is is going to go back and make a run at the Mets. The Mets look like they have this division already sewn up. Let's take a look at this team. Not only did they win the World Series, but look who they have leading off. That's right, Ricky B. Ricky. Ricky Henderson. We traded him from our Tigers last year to Houston, and he did bupkis. And that's why we had to get rid of him. He's another one of those Hall of Famers that are not represented. His speed is 86. It should be 99.9. And yet, he signed as a free agent with the Mets, and he's getting paid $2 million. That might be the highest paid player in baseball. I have no idea what he's going to do. But you look at what he did for us. He had, 32 stolen bases, 23 caught stealing, 35 stolen bases, 22 caught stealing. We finally broke through with him in 1983 with 44 stolen bases, and he got 19 more for Houston. His OPS dropped by over 100. His slugging, I mean, the Astrodome is a cavern, so he was never going to hit home runs. But now that he's on the Mets and a team that's World Series bound again, in my opinion, I'm very curious to see how he does for this team. So good job by them. He's under contract through 1986, so it was a 3-year deal. Danny Goodwin playing first base for the Mets. Did he win? Yeah, he was the MVP in 1980 in our sim season. There he is right there. Got a World Series ring with Houston. He's bounced around. He's been valuable almost everywhere he's gone. Then we have Wally Backman at second base. Put up some good numbers for the Mets. John Christensen was a rookie last year. Did not win the Rookie of the Year, but he did all right. And the worst part about it is they brought him up and sent Dave Parker down, who won MVP in 1982 in our sim. It's just so dumb. Here's Ross Jones, shortstop. He'll be the starting shortstop for them this year. Mike Hart, another player that's traded to the Mets last year to play center field, and I think Mookie Wilson was the odd man out when he got traded over. That's just dumb, but you can't argue with the results, right? They went to the World Series. Jose Moreno, in 2 years, a player who was a career minor leaguer, a Mexican League player. He's put up some really good numbers, which is, that's cool. I like that. You see his their playoff numbers here. Alex Trevino, is he their starting catcher? He was last year, so he had 30 doubles, batted .261. Was that their lineup? Yeah, that's their lineup right there. I don't know what to make of that, but the top of the lineup is great. And look at who's on their bench. Look at this bench. They got Dan Gladden, traded twice last year. a player who can steal a lot of bases and get on base. Then we have Ron Hodges as their backup catcher. He's a long-time backup for them. No surprise there. Only rated a 62. Youch. But he was still in the majors in real life for the Mets. And then here it is. Edgar Martinez, third baseman of the future, 21 years old, and much like the other Hall of Famers that we mentioned, not well represented, not great defensively, but that's true. He was a DH, so maybe he deserves to be in the American League. But some, overall rating could be an 89, so I'm curious to see what happens. He's on the bench with Herm Winningham, up from the minors as a rookie. Wow, there's great ratings there and awesome defensively. That's cool. Billy Allman hanging on. In 82, he was an everyday player. In 83, he barely could get off the bench. And that's where he is this year. Utility player, though, could play anywhere. Hubie Brooks, shortstop, not good defensive rating. He had 21 home runs. And who did they put Ross Jones in place? At shortstop. They're going to go with Ross Jones. He does have better ratings, I guess. And for a guy who had 48 at-bats in the majors, he had 39 in the playoffs last year, batting .282. So I guess that's how you make the team. Now look at these names in AAA. Milt Thompson, Steve Henderson, Dave Parker. Again, the MVP, by the way. Brian Giles, not the second baseman Brian Giles, not the Pittsburgh Pirates Brian Giles. Barry Lyons and Rusty Tillman. Good ratings. This team has the money to spend on developing players. Richie Hebner has been designated to AA. Of course, we had him on the team. Joe Zadeb. So because they have money to spend, they have a lot of cash. They just go out and buy up all the crappy free agents. That's why they're full of players who shouldn't ever be in the major leagues. And honestly, there's nobody there you would want with those ratings. Let's look at single A. Wow, crap. Mookie Wilson in single A. He did make it to the majors and play last year, some. He might not ever play again. That's ridiculous. They have Kevin Seitzer, low rating. These are all low rating. Ty Van Berkelio, for some reason, is a god. And they've got no names down here at all. Chip Hale, former manager for the Diamondbacks. That's it. Man, that kind of sucks, right? They've taken all their money and put it into the majors. And there's nothing here that really makes me feel like they're going to be great. I mean, if they can sub in Martinez has a better rating than Jose Moreno, I don't know. Let's take a look at the pitchers, and then we're done. Let's see who they have. This is their strength, I guess, despite maybe having some odd names in the rotation. Here's Rick Ownby. This guy has done nothing but just absolutely clean everybody's clock. He went 23-8 in 82 and 22-9 in 1983. Like, who was this guy in real life? He's got 66 career wins in 4 seasons, although he did have a 6-win season in 1981 in the strike-shortened year. But, yeah, he had a career year in strikeouts. What can you do? That guy's great. And then we have Ron Darling. He made 31 starts, went 11-10. Great strikeout ratio. Opponent's batting average 229, rated a 90. He's really good. John Fulgham, coming off a 19-win season, only won 12 last year. A definite innings eater, walked 107. Didn't strike out many, but you got to have those guys too. He's only 27 years old. Then we have Mike Scott. Yeah, he doesn't have the split finger yet. We did that. We gave it to Jack Morris because he didn't have it either. Of course, Mike Scott learned the split finger and became one of the best pitchers in baseball. And yet, he's toiling here with the Mets, going 14-12. It's still putting up some solid numbers. And the number 5 starter is Walt Terrell. Great year from Walt Terrell. 16-11, 3.38 ERA. Never walked many, which is awesome. Opponent's batting average is 259. Fond memories of Walt Terrell on my Detroit Tigers team. Let's take a look at the bullpen. And these are some good names here. We have Jesse Orosco as their closer, as he should be, a left-handed closer. He must have got injured last year. Did he? Let's find out. Yeah, he missed 8 weeks of the season due to a broken foot. Didn't slow down the Mets. He had 16 saves, 2 blueys. Then they had Greg Harris. That is Greg H. Harris, I believe, because there's 2 Harrises, Greg Harrises. He had 8 saves for the Mets and a minuscule 1.63 ERA. Jeff Reardon, he was 6 for 6 in saves. Great numbers as a reliever. Nice having Reardon around as a backup closer. Dave Von Olen hasn't pitched in the majors since 1980. He'll get a shot here for the Mets. Terry Leach hanging around at age 29. And Craig Swan. Wow, okay, so he had 29 starts last year, and they have him as a long reliever. And that's not so bad. I mean, here's a good pitcher. 12-11 last year with a 4.12 ERA. Had 2 shutouts. That's pretty good. Okay, let's see. Who do they have in AAA? Now, this is what money can buy you. They got Pete Vukovich, who last year pitched for the Cardinals. They signed him as a free agent. And what do? They stick him in AAA for $1.3 million and a long-term deal. So I don't know who's the first to get a spot due to injury in the rotation, Craig Swan or Vukovich, although Swan is higher rated. They got Tim Leary, Bill Latham. Juan Berenguer had a great year. Look at all these highly rated. This is where all the money goes. Any of these, this is a whole rotation here that you could put on an expansion team, and they would do really well. Pat Zachary, Ed Lynch, Roy Lee Jackson, Ray Searage, Doug Sisk. I mean, even their second-tier players have decent ratings. And then in single A, I mean, they've got, look at this, Tom Edens, Roger McDowell, Wes Gardner, Danny Plesac, Tony Arnold, John Farrell, Mike Dunn, Lance McCullers Sr., Eric Hansen, Mike Magnate, Wayne. I mean, these are all players that will make it to the major leagues in this sim. So I don't know about this lineup, but I can tell you this pitching staff is plenty good enough to get them back to the playoffs. I don't see how anybody in this division could beat me. If you disagree, if you think any of the teams that we just covered have a better chance to beat out the Mets, let me know in the comments below, because I think the Mets definitely have it locked down. And then weirdly enough, I think the last place Pittsburgh Pirates might be the second best team in this division. And then it's a battle for third among any of these other teams that don't have a lot of good players. So that's going to do it for this episode. I appreciate you taking a look here at the National League East preview. Next Monday, we will have the National League West preview, and then that will be it until the season starts on April 1st for us. I'm still waiting for Baseball Mogul 2023 to come out. It will arrive on the 28th, and I'll buy it that day, get it loaded up, and see if everything ports over properly. So until then, thanks for watching, guys, and have a great night.